Killian or Paul? Gladstone or Stone? The Critics' Choice Awards happened last night. Let's talk about it. What's up, Flick fans? Welcome back to the channel. It is the most wonderful time of the year, not Christmas. Awards season. I love Christmas, too. Unfortunately, I had to be somewhere last night, but I still managed to watch the Critics' Choice Awards. Could not do my live reaction, but we're still going to react and talk about the madness, and maybe some things have changed. I don't know. It's a lot. We're going to recap all of the winners, but as always, we're going to focus on the film categories because that's what I vote on, and that's what's coming up with the Oscars, and we're getting closer, and I'm freaking out, to be honest with you. This list comes to us via Entertainment Weekly, and we're going to talk about some winners. If you want to support this video, dropping a like would be awesome. Leaving a comment would be great. What else? Best Comedy Special, John Mulaney. I love me some John Mulaney. Best Talk Show, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Personally, I'm a Conan O'Brien fan. Wait, he doesn't do that anymore. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Like seeing that. Best Foreign Language Series, Lupin, which I used to review, but I haven't seen since. Supporting Actress in a Limited Series, we have Maria Bello from Beef. Like I said, this is going to be a Beef-heavy award season. Supporting Actor, Jonathan Bailey in Fellow Travelers. I have yet to see that. I thought for sure it was going to be Beef, but there's no way it could have been.
Get a load of this guy.
Actress, Ali Wong in Beef. Actor, Steven Yeun in Beef, as expected. Movie made for television. I haven't seen any of those yet. Beef wins Limited Series. Meryl Streep wins Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series. She finally gets that award. I thought she would win it at the Golden Globes, but she did not. Evan Moss, my guy from The Bear. We're starting to get into those Bear Award winners. We know it's going to be heavy this season. AO for The Bear, yes. Jeremy Allen White for The Bear, yes. Over some fantastic. I mean, it's a shame that Bill Hader isn't getting more love, but The Bear is just such a good show. And then, of course, it wins Best Comedy Series. Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, once again, Elizabeth Debicki just dominating this in The Crown. Love seeing some Loki love in both of these categories. Ke Huy Quan, that is awesome to see him there. Thought it would be Matthew for Succession. Billy Crudup wins for The Morning Show. That's interesting. Sarah Snook in Succession, and then Kieran in Succession as well. Tom Hiddleston there for Loki. You love seeing that. How about Succession winning Best Drama Series? Bet you didn't have that on your bingo card, did you? Now we are here with the film categories, and this is what we're going to buckle down and talk about, but we're not going to spend too much time on Best Score because this is the Ludwig Göransson Award. This is the Oppenheimer Award. Look, we have some spectacular scores across the board this year, and this category is stacked. Rest in peace, Robbie Robertson. I still can't believe he isn't with us anymore. Really enjoyed the scores for Barbie, Society of a Snow, and Poor Things, but for me, it's Killers, it's Across the Spider-Verse, and it's Oppenheimer. Three of the best scores of the year, but you know the gold goes to Oppenheimer, the best score of the year. I believe we, as a body, got that one right. Next up, we have Best Song. And I was really surprised when I saw this. I think Ryan Gosling was too. Did you see his reaction last night? It was either surprise or kind of like, well, I probably shouldn't have won this. But I think I'm Just Kin was a fantastic song. And for me, that's just as deserving as What Was I Made For. What Was I Made For is a better song, I believe, better written and all of those things. And I like Billie Eilish. But some people are going to be like, Austin, it's Eilish. No, it's not. It's Eyelash. But I'm Just Kin. It's like pop culture relevant in a way that no other song this year was. I mean, Peaches was pretty good. I know people are just like, it's just Jack Black saying the same thing over and over. So he could say anything and it would be awesome. But I'm Just Kin is fantastic. For me, that was the best part of the movie. That's one of the scene sequences of the year. And to see Ryan Gosling just melt into this role and sing this song accordingly was fantastic. It's really good. Best Foreign Language Film. Look, my personal choice, yeah, you know it would be Godzilla -1. Society of the Snow is fantastic. Seeing Zone of Interest on there is really cool. But right now, this is Anatomy of a Fall's award. Well, it's not going to be at the Oscars. It wasn't the movie that France chose for the Oscars, but it's been like sweeping all of the foreign language international categories at all these other award shows. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, that's not going to happen. And the same thing with Godzilla -1. But at the same time, you know, you have to appreciate the fact that it's getting it done at these other ceremonies, and it's good enough to get a Best Picture nomination. I think it will get a Best Picture nomination at the Oscars. So that's going to be really interesting when we talk about that. But a lot of these movies are just deserving. Perfect Days is a film that I'm going to discuss on Letterboxd That is one that I think a lot of people should see. Golly, man, this is one of the best categories in general because these movies are all spot on. Best animated film. The Boy and the Heron is no longer Across the Spider-Verse got it done, at least last night. I do believe this is a competition now. Before, a month ago, I'm like, oh, it's Spider-Verse's award. It's going to happen. It was by far my favorite film. Well, that and Suzume, which I don't see here for some reason, but The Boy and the Heron has come to play, made a dent at the box office. I believe it's the highest grossing Miyazaki film. It is Miyazaki, so people are going to respect and appreciate that. Look, it's not my favorite Miyazaki movie. Across the Spider-Verse is one of my favorite movies in general, but you got to respect what it's doing, and this is a competition for the Oscars. It's just critics. They went with Across the Spider-Verse. That's what I voted for. Best comedy. I don't have to tell you where I voted here. I obviously voted for The Holdovers. That is my second favorite film of the year, very close to being my first favorite film of the year. I knew it was going to go to Barbie, but at the same time, I was just holding on to the fact that, could it go to The Holdovers? Maybe. I'll tell you where I thought it was going to go. I thought Poor Things had just as much of a shot as Barbie, so I was really torn. I know I didn't do official predictions, but in my head, I'm like, it's going to be Barbie or it's going to be Poor Things. It's not going to be The Holdovers, but again, that's where I voted. Not taking shots at Barbie here, but it would be like third or fourth in that list for me. Best visual effects. I knew this would go to Oppenheimer because that's where critics' brains and minds are leaning with something like this, and I think it's the fact that it didn't get into the Oscars short list for visuals. Critics were like, oh, well, I'll vote for it. I voted for Across the Spider-Verse. I believe visually that movie is impeccable. It is a phenomenal experience from start to finish. And yes, animated movie, sure, but a lot of that does have to do with the visual effects, and I really appreciate what they did with that film. A lot of these movies on here were deserving, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the creator. I would have been okay with it winning this category because the visuals were by far the best part of the film. Critics went with Oppenheimer. That's fine. Best hair and makeup. This was either Barbie's award or Maestro's award. I am a little surprised it didn't go to Maestro. I'm honestly a little surprised it didn't go to Poor Things. My vote was Poor Things. I was so impressed with Willem Dafoe's makeup and some of those sequences with Emma Stone and what they do with some of these background creatures, and I know a lot of that is visual effects, but it's also hair and makeup, and I just thought that movie looked phenomenal. This was a big piece of that, but you can't fault Barbie here. I mean, living in that Barbie world, she was a Barbie girl. It does look great. This one I was more on the side of Barbie. I believe the costume design in Barbie was fantastic. It really sucked you into what they were going for. And you could say the same thing about Napoleon and Poor Things and Wonka and The Color Purple. This is a great category, and I believe the Critics' Choice body absolutely nailed these nominations. But this is one where I look at Barbie and I say, yeah, I would give that the edge over the other films, but it was really close, especially when I was voting. I almost went with like 3 other choices. Best editing. First of all, Air got a nomination. That's a win. We talked about that. Second of all, Oppenheimer was not going to lose this award. And this is a big award when it comes to the Oscars. You have Best Picture, and that oftentimes is tied to some of these other categories. You have Best Editing. That is one of the many precursors that we get. So the fact that it's racking up on editing at all of these award ceremonies, that's going to be my prediction for the Oscars. Spoilers for my predictions. But it is the Oppenheimer Award. That's good news for it to win the biggie. It absolutely deserves it here. The next best one, for me, may be Air. But Killers of the Flower Moon, the pacing in a 3.5-hour movie, a lot of that has to do with the editing, so I would put that up there. Production design, another one where when I was voting, completely torn between this and Asteroid City and Poor Things. My vote ultimately went to Poor Things. I believe the world that they created in Poor Things was it was spectacular. And I was invested from start to finish. Aesthetically, a lot of that has to do with the production design. But Barbie, you can't go wrong with that either. The world that Greta Gerwig created and had a huge hand in, and all of the people that worked on this movie, it's a good award. It's a good win. But again, you could have went with like 3 or 4 different movies here. Cinematography. Hoyt van Hoytema. Let's move on. No, stop right there. This is once again a stacked category. Could have went 3 different ways. My vote was for Oppenheimer. My choice was Oppenheimer. Very biased. But you look at some of the individual shots in this film, the camera movements, and especially I think of the Trinity sequence and the way we are moving in and out and capturing people's faces, along with the beautiful landscape of Los Alamos. I love the way this movie looks across the board. A lot of that has to do with Hoytema's cinematography. It's always been great, but we're finally getting that awards love. Original screenplay. Again, my vote was for The Holdovers. You knew where it was going to go. I was also torn between that and Past Lives. I'm like, Holdovers, Past Lives. I was throwing May December in there. You know I'm a massive fan of Air, but I don't know if I would give that screenplay above some of these other movies. Barbie probably would have been 4th or 5th on my list personally, because I had some issues when we went into the real world. It felt just a tiny bit like it was a different movie. Some of that is obviously when they're not fully meshing the tones together. Well, look, I think Barbie is a good movie. I don't mean to be a hater. I'm not trying to be that. But I just think it's such a strong year for original screenplay. I did not expect Barbie to win this. Part of me thought maybe critics would lean in that direction. But at the same time, I'm like, man, Past Lives and May December and The Holdovers, they're all on there. They're all spectacular. The Oscars, they took Barbie out of that category. It is now adapted. So this was Barbie's opportunity to win it. It took advantage. It's a big win for the movie in general, but it's a different category than what the Oscars have it. So it's kind of confusing. I wanted The Holdovers to win, or Past Lives. Adapted screenplay. This was a huge surprise for me. I sat back and I go, whoa. Okay, would it have been my choice? No, it wasn't my choice. Oppenheimer was my choice. I am enamored by that screenplay. I've read through probably 30 pages of the screenplay thus far. I'm kind of working my way through it. They sent it to me, and it's incredible. But I've been able to take a look at a lot of these screenplays, and to see the translation to screen does give you a little bit of a different perspective when you're actually reading it. And one of those is American Fiction. And while it wouldn't be top 2 on my list, I would go Scorsese and Roth. I would go Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. I do really like the American Fiction screenplay. It would be 3rd on that list. But American Fiction has thrown its hat into the ring. Cord Jefferson wrote a great screenplay. There's no denying that. So I do like seeing that critics gave it the victory here. That's really cool. You know, am I a little disappointed that Oppenheimer didn't win it? Of course. But Oppenheimer's winning a lot of awards. The American Fiction screenplay is great. And I couldn't believe it won. Best Director. Do we have to discuss this? Probably not. This is the Christopher Nolan Award. If he doesn't win at the Oscars, I'm going to be baffled. I'm going to be shocked. I'm going to throw myself back and slam my head on the ground. Something bad's going to happen. You're going to see that because I will react to the Oscars. But I just don't see how anyone overtakes him. Scorsese's got the next best chance, but it's not happening. Acting ensemble, there is no denying Oppenheimer and its stacked cast, one of the most stacked casts I've ever seen in a movie in general. I remember when they were casting this just a year ago or 2 years ago now, and you're like, him, yep, her, that, this, led by some of the biggest people in Hollywood. Just across the board, a fantastic cast. And this category in general is amazing. Part of me could have went in the direction of Air, because Air is just across the board an amazing cast, and one that is so memorable because of what everyone brings to the table that is different from one another. But, come on. Young actor, actress. This was announced before the ceremony. I was very happy. My vote was Dominic Sessa for The Holdovers. I believe Sessa is genuinely good enough to be nominated for a supporting actor this year. Is it going to happen? Probably not. But at this point, after SAG and now BAFTA, I'm a little worried about Charles Melton as well. So who's going to get Best Supporting? I don't know. I got to think about it. Sessa is the best young actor or actress. The next one is Supporting Actress. This is the Divine Joy Randolph category. Come on. She's going to win. She's won every award thus far. It's kind of a shame that Blunt's not getting really a shot here. America Ferrera for Barbie being in there was a nice change of pace. Julianne Moore for May December, amazing. But Randolph is taking this home. It's happening. Mark it down. Stamp of approval. I love it. It makes me happy. And then we have Supporting Actor. Again, Sterling K. Brown being in here. really nice to see. That's going to be a tough race between he and Charles Melton and Mark Ruffalo, and then you get Willem Dafoe getting other nominations. But it has consistently been Ryan Gosling and Robert Downey Jr., but Robert Downey Jr. has won a lot of these. And I'm not saying it's a lock. I'm not saying that. But for a long time, we've been wanting Robert Downey Jr. to kind of break the mold and be in a movie like this and give a performance like this. Look, I think, and I know I'm a snobby critic, and I've been talking about all this prestigious stuff, but I believe Robert Downey Jr. was good enough in some of these Marvel movies to garner awards buzz. Not nominations necessarily, but he's that good in those movies, especially Avengers Endgame. He's giving a phenomenal performance there. But those aren't the movies to give you nominations. This is the type of movie to give you a nomination, and Robert Downey Jr. gives his best performance, and I love him as Tony Stark. This is his best performance ever. I believe he deserves it. He was my vote, and, it's hard because it's a stacked category, but I think he may win the Oscar. Best Actress, this was a Stone versus Gladstone, Lily versus Emma. Emma Stone gets the victory here. And, she's gotten more victories than Lily Gladstone as a whole, and I understand. People think that's going to give her the edge, and it is going to give her the edge. But I'm interested to see what the Academy does here. I am probably going to predict Emma Stone because it's going in her direction. But there is a shot that they look at Lily Gladstone and say, this is someone who we never, for some reason, never expected her to give this type of performance. She's going up against Leo and Robert De Niro, and she may just give the best performance in a Martin Scorsese movie. That's something that the Academy may look at and say, well, she may just deserve it over Emma Stone. So I'm not ready to give Emma Stone her flowers just yet. She has the edge for me. She was my personal vote, but both of these performances are two of the best of the year. Emma Stone had my vote, though. I thought critics would give her the win. Best Actor. Yeah, buddy. So when I voted, I ended up going and tweeting out, I had a huge decision to make between Cillian Murphy and Paul Giamatti. Two of the top 5 performances of the year. Two spectacular, monumental performances that I was so torn on who I was going to vote for. And it came down to which performance made me feel just a little bit more. So I said I went with my heart. And then last night when he won, I tweeted out that I went with my heart. And there were some people that said, Austin. Well, one person, he said, Austin, if you really went with your heart, you should be revoked of your Critics' Choice Awards vote. And you know what I think that person is? I think that person's stupid. When it's that close, when it is neck and neck, and you have no clue where to go, and you have sat for 2 weeks and thought about which performance was best, and this was my final vote. I could not, for the life of me, think of who I was going to vote for here. And at the end of the day, I said to myself, which one made me feel just a little bit more? And I couldn't come up with an answer. So then I flipped a coin. No, I'm just kidding. I really did genuinely have to go with what made me just a tiny bit more emotional. And people think or thought me celebrating last night, Paul's win, was a shot at Cillian Murphy. No, you clearly have not been following this channel. You all have, so I appreciate that. But they've not been following this channel. They have no clue how tough that vote was. I could have went either direction. And honestly, I may go a different direction tomorrow. But right now, I'm feeling Paul Giamatti. Now, I don't know if he's going to win the Oscar, but this is big. This was one of the first big award ceremonies where he was going right up against Cillian Murphy. Giamatti takes it. Now, we're not the Academy. I mean, this is a different body of voters, and a lot of people may look at Oppenheimer and say Cillian Murphy carried one of the best movies of the century, and understandably so, right? But Paul Giamatti getting this win is big. This is a race, folks. It's going to be neck and neck until the end, and I have no clue who I'm going to predict for the Oscar. Genuinely. No idea. Finally, Best Picture. Oppenheimer won. All right, see ya. I don't want to call it yet. It's too early to call it. Especially if the Holdovers gets actor and supporting actress and then somehow wins screenplay and wins a couple of other awards. That the people are going to be overlooking that movie, and I don't want them to do that. And then you have Poor Things. This is an aesthetically different, a movie unlike anything that came out last year, and Yorgos Lanthimos. People do love Yorgos as a director. Then you have Barbie. And Barbie, the critics split it, gave Barbie Best Comedy, and then gave Oppenheimer Best Picture. But people are genuinely overlooking Barbie as a movie that is not a threat for Best Picture. It's a threat, folks. Whether you like the movie or not, you have to accept the fact that it is a threat. But Oppenheimer just keeps on winning. I should have mentioned Killers of the Flower Moon as well. Oppenheimer keeps on winning this award over and over. It's repetitive at this point. It should be. It's the best movie last year. One of the best movies of the decade. May just be my favorite. But is it really that much of a lock? Could we start to see another movie slip in and say, okay, hey, you got to worry about me as well? Or is this just Oppenheimer and The Field? I'm not ready to say it's Oppenheimer's award for sure just yet, but it's starting to shape up that way. And Oppenheimer getting the victory here, as expected, is just another check mark on its resume of big awards wins prior to the Oscar. Is it going to take home the gold?
I hope so.
Okay. Listen, folks, I had an opportunity to go to the Critics' Choice Awards last night, but where we have a newborn and we're trying to save a little bit of money, I chose not to go. It would have been awesome. I could have met a lot of fantastic people, but at the same time, I love getting the opportunity to get these videos out for you guys. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was in Los Angeles. So, hey, I appreciate you all giving me some motivation to do this and to keep talking about the things that I love to talk about. The fact that I get an opportunity to vote in these is still just like, I don't believe it, to be honest with you. But the only reason that I get that chance is because you watch and support these videos. So for that, I say thank you. It really does mean the world to me. Appreciate you guys for watching big time. Can't wait to talk about the Oscars, do some Oscar predictions. Hopefully this week we're getting into it. We're going to get some SAG stuff, and across the board, we're going to start learning more as we go, and I can't wait to do it with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.